Right. Here we are, Flapping Fish, Volume 10, with Steph Macleod.
How's it going?
It's going well. Thank you so much for your time and agreeing to come on my little crazy thing here.
No worries.
Yeah.
I'm not busy.
You're not busy. You've not got any gigs or anything?
No, not at the moment.
Not for a while. No. So just to introduce anyone who's not heard of Steph, I'm going to embarrass him now and say, Steph, you are one of my favorite artists, and I love the stuff you've written. I love the things you record, but also one of the things I like about you is just that you can actually play live, and what you see is what you get, but I love that sort of the skill that they've given you, the way that you play so effortlessly and you write from a really deep place. So just to embarrass you right at the beginning, just say what an amazing gift and talent you are.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and it means a lot coming from yourself. I've been listening to music for years, so it's I think I've been singing your songs before we even met, years before we even met, and so that's a lovely thing to say. Thanks, Mum.
You're not getting paid. You might as well be encouraged.
I do appreciate that. So who am I? I am a singer, songwriter, and worship leader, and also an advocate for mental health recovery, and I've invested into those communities also for homelessness awareness and stuff like that. I usually travel around and just take the gospel into anywhere that will have me, anywhere. Prisons, schools, homeless hostels, you name it, I've probably played there. Most of the time it's in a church, but it's changed these days to be more like festivals, and when I'm not doing the music side of thing, I'm meeting up with people in recovery or wanting to get into recovery, and just kind of sharing my experience through that journey in the hope that it might guide them through their journey. And I do a bit of charity work, and I'm also a father of 3 and a husband of 1, and thankfully and I'm from Scotland as well, so I'm on the east coast of Scotland, although my family's from the very, very northwest, and that is me in a nutshell.
So Steph, where did you grow up? Where was your childhood?
Musselburgh, which is about 7 miles east of Edinburgh. It's a wee fishing town, although they've not. I don't think they've done any fishing for some time. But there's a cracking ice cream parlour there, and there's So I grew up there. My dad's from the Western Isles, so I used to go up there every summer in the Easter and also in the October break, and just spend weeks upon weeks with my grandparents on the croft up there, which was just magical. And but most of my childhood was in and around Musselburgh with my mum, dad, and my mum's side of the family, which it's about 20 miles from here, just up the coast.
That's cool, man. So you grew up by the sea?
Yeah, I love the water. Absolutely love it. My kids are. We just moved here from a place that didn't have any water. We were actually on a big hill. And my kids are absolutely fascinated with it. It's just amazing. There's actually a surf church nearby, which is so that there's a church plant which is a surf church, which is just amazing. So
a bit cold surfing up there.
We made a tough stuff.
Dying in the water.
See a bit of goose fat, you'd be fine. A bit of lard, Marmite, whatever takes your fancy,
Yeah, that's good. So I've actually I've got a little bit of Scottish blood, because my uncle, so in fact, I think my cousin is watching this at the moment, but my uncle, he did a lot of digging into our family history, and there is a Mary Campbell who sort of married an Englishman. So they're my family, yeah, all from sort of County Durham and that side of the family. So pretty cool.
I hear County Durham's quite nice.
Beautiful, yeah.
Is that not where it's? Is that not been on the news quite a bit?
Yeah, it's a good place to go if you get ill. Only 250 miles away from here. So,
but no, I've got a couple of friends from Durham. It's absolutely lovely, man.
Good one. And when did you get into music, man?
Oh man, I've always been into music. I think my mum and dad's like told me like one of the earliest things I did was I was just glued to Top of the Pops or something like that, or what was the one with Jules Holland? Was it The Tube that my dad used to watch? Was that? And anything, I used to sit and just watch it, and my party trick was I could memorize the top 10 from like the age of 3 or something like that, and they were so impressed. My mum and dad aren't musical, but I was quite a high maintenance kid, so they got me this tiny wee Casio keyboard. No, actually, my mum brought me a kid's drum kit, which lasted about 4 days, and it got replaced by a Casio keyboard because they just couldn't put up with a racket. So there was we had a tiny little house, but it was yeah. So I just used to sit there and learn tunes off the TV. So it was things like the Hovis advert, and I think I learnt the theme tune to Hit Beverly Hills Cop one time, and all that kind of stuff. And then I did it all from here, and then I got taken for a piano lesson, and I really enjoyed it. And then I got tested for music at school, and I aced it, and the guitar teacher offered to teach me for free. So they
So how old when you started playing guitar?
About 7 or 8, and
that's really young, isn't it?
Yeah, but I was obsessed with it, man. I had a lot of I was a high maintenance kid, and it just helped to focus my attentions, man. And it was good because I got to listen to music. Some of it was, questionable, and I think my dad disowned me once I bought a Bros album, but oh yeah, man. I mean, he just used to kind of sneak in with little records by Eric Clapton and Steely Dan and stuff like that, So it was and always we had good music on in the car. So from then I was hooked, man, and it really helped with a lot of stuff as well. It helped. I spent quite a bit of time. I had a lot of time to play the guitar, so it was I just loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah. I remember trying to play around that kind of age and just not being able to at all. Like it sort of came back to it when I was 12, and I could do it, but yeah. But my kids can do quite a lot musically just by, because it's all around, so they just pick up stuff and they don't sort of think, oh, I can't do it. They just get on with it.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
My daughters are learning the piano, which is their fingers are too sore for the guitar at the moment. But one of them can play the guitar a little bit. My youngest daughter, she said it was too sore in her finger, so I put this little electric into open tuner and taught her how to play the slide. And she makes a racket, man. But man, she loves the noise. She loves the noise, man. So it's so it's great.
It's cool, isn't it? Like, because I didn't grow up in a musical family either, but I think kids growing up in that, when there's instruments around, it's like they're already starting from a different. I don't know. There's something about growing up with the instruments around and seeing it all the time, seeing your dad play, seeing where the fingers go and all that. It's kind of, you've already got a big knowledge, without even realizing it. Whereas it was all just completely. I mean, it was looking at my sister playing guitar, which was kind of, that's how I got started. There's something about seeing it in the flesh, isn't it? That's like opens the door for you to play.
It's mesmerizing, especially if you hear somebody that's good at it. You know, it's completely mesmerizing because, you know, our hands. I don't think they were. I mean, this could be debatable, but I heard somebody say once, you know, our hands weren't designed to play the guitar; they were designed to pick fruit off trees. You know what I mean? So it was in saying that, you know, when you hear somebody playing a guitar and then you pick it up and it's like, how on earth did they do that? And then you watch somebody do it, it's just completely mesmerizing. And then when you've got the emotional content as well, and you see somebody perform, and you listen to something that's got so much soul behind it, it's just incredible. I think that movement and passion and the heart behind something can actually cause something so atmospheric and be transferred into somebody else and make them feel something. And I think that is just truly remarkable.
It is. It's weird, isn't it? It's like it's an invisible thing that no one can quantify, but no one really can deny its power. But it's just a bit confounding because there's not really a science behind it that they know. You know, it's spiritual for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean they've done some scans on brains and stuff like that, you know, to see what happens when people listen to music, and it just lights up like a Christmas tree, you know. But they don't know why. They don't know why. It's a bit like pain, and you know they don't really understand a lot about pain medically, but they know what can stop it and what can, you know, treat it and stuff like that, and make it slightly different. There's just not enough known about it. But I mean, why bother? I love it. You know? Yeah.
It's incredibly healing, isn't it? It's if you think about that, it's actually changing, you know, the frequencies in the brain and doing stuff in the brain. That's actually that's changing things in real life. Do you know what I mean? It's not just. I think like we have got this sort of rational culture a little bit. It's like, you know, everything has to be quantifiable and all that sort of stuff. But to see, you know, if we're thinking about mental health as well, it's like, wow, music is so powerful to bring healing to people, you know, bring healing to their spirits and to actually change stuff in the brain, you know. It's
Yeah,
like, yeah, it's really cool.
it can do like a number of things. It can inspire. It can give people closure. It can bring healing. It can really draw up emotions and trigger stuff that you've forgotten for such a long time, you know, which has been my case, like watching some of the movies that came out when I was a teenager with my kids, you know, and they're just Disney movies. My parents split around about the time The Lion King came out, so we were watching these movies, and I'm getting really emotional listening to these songs, which are brilliant. I understand them more musically now, but I'm just thinking to myself, I don't know if I can get through this, man. And it's like, Elton John,
Yeah.
what are you about, man? But I get it. It's also my granny's got dementia, and but like when you stick on Scottish music, and I've been involved in a few projects like that as well for some of these aging people, when they hear music, there's something about memory because it triggers emotions as well, which is just to pardon the phrase, mind blowing, because you just see them come alive, you know. And it's just it also draws in community as well, which I think music is very, very cool for. I love it.
Yeah, I do as well. I think like it's a weird time, but I think it's really important for the musicians and artists to do stuff in this time. You know, I think it's such an important thing, and similar to how some of these, you know, NHS and key workers have not really been appreciated, you know, and now it's like not been, you know, they're not being paid, not been appreciated, or been smashed, you know, under resourced, and now it's like they're heroes. I think there's something for artists, you know, there's a lot of artists, really talented, gifted people who have been quite hidden, and people are like going out, opening their front door and playing music in the street again. and people aren't going, oh, that's too loud, or that's, you know, you're messing up my Netflix or whatever. But people are being cheered, and it's bringing a healing into the community. And Yeah, it's a really interesting time. But yeah,
It's
so
like a,
go on.
it's like a troubadour revolution. So we're
Mm.
getting there. We're going back to the So like we're going to be enjoying people playing on the streets a wee bit more, because you never know when you need a bit of relief in that respect. You know, it's
Yeah,
I think these guys are really brave. You know, these buskers and street musicians and bedroom guitarists and
yeah,
bearing their soul for the world, man. You know,
yeah,
it's not the easiest thing to do. You know, especially when you know everyone's a critic. It doesn't matter if you criticize positively or negatively. We all do it, man. You know what I mean? But to just be that vulnerable and bare your soul regardless of your skill level is it takes a lot of courage. You know,
yeah.
it's I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. It's amazing. Like, I think that sort of, yeah. Getting back to you, man. What? Tell us a little bit about your journey into faith, because your stuff's all pretty much faith based, isn't it? It all comes from that
Yeah,
rock.
I think so. I've done some stuff that wouldn't be considered faith based, but it's all testimonial.
Mm.
And I try and when I write, I try and put my experience into it. I'm not very good at writing about other people's experiences, or
Mm.
if I was going to write like a song about, you know, John Henry, for example, or whatever, you know, I'd have to write about my experience of reading about John Henry or something like that. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
every time I write, it's got to be testimonial. But I
Self-centered.
started self-centered,
Self.
absolutely, absolutely. I'm number one, mate. You know, but I started writing about me when I was 25 and living in a homeless hostel in Edinburgh, just broken from addiction, alcohol and drugs, and sleeping rough, and which took a while to get there. But I hadn't done anything musical for a few years at that point, just because addiction had taken over in my life as my main occupation, and which was 24/7. You didn't get paid, you know, but it was a full-time job. And then I ended up in a homeless hostel run by the Bethany Christian Trust, who are a phenomenal homeless charity in Scotland, and they gave me a bed in a hostel and helped me to get dry, and took me through a recovery program, which was very well, it was Christian and very Jesus, and I was just happy to get a bed, man. But they had a couple of guitars there which were held together by the strings. They weren't worth 50p, but if it's worth any more than a quid in a homeless hostel, man, it's going to end up in a cash converter, you know. So I did these guitars up, and I started singing for the first time, like, and singing songs about my experiences of homelessness and addiction, and lots of swear words in there. I mean, so the songs are a wee bit shorter these days, and I ended up coming to faith by going to dinner one night. I went for the 5-course dinner because I was curious. I'd never had a 5-course meal before, you know. It was lovely. It was really nice. It was free. There's always free food at Christian events, man. You know, so it might just be biscuits, but it's magic. It's murder on my way though. But there was a guy got up and gave his testimony, which I'd never heard a testimony. And it was a church minister, a friend of mine, a guy called Cameron McKenzie. He's a real rock and roller, man. You know, not in the musical sense, but he's a real deal. And he'd had a tough shift as well. So he'd been into crime as a youngster and addiction, and did some time. And I really related to his story. And then he just challenged me, really, really, really challenged. He wasn't talking to me directly, but man, I was challenged. And then I was invited, and I was inspired, and that's when I took a step of faith, and that's just led to everything changing. And from that moment onwards, Because when I prayed to Jesus and said, look, I want a life, a different life, a life worth living, a life that's not going to be like this anymore. And if that means following you, then I'm in, which was essentially my salvation prayer, because they were talking in language I'd never heard before. But that was my prayer, and I felt peace in my heart for the first time, I think, ever as an adult, which might not sound like a great deal, but when you've been anxious your whole life and full of fear and insecurities and dread and anger and all these things, what a relief, man. I mean, it's just an incredible relief, and I knew it was going to be all right. And from that day forward, I started looking outside of myself, which addiction is. It's a very inward entity. It's a very self-seeking, self-centered entity, a bit like my songs, but I started to know the next day I noticed people smiling at me for the first time. I was like 25 and can't remember a day before that people smiled at me. Just can't. I don't know if it's a mental thing, but and then I just noticed things like the weather wasn't grey and miserable when it was raining. It was beautifully silver and lilac, and everything was gleaming, and it was like going from like a 4-channel 1980s telly to 4K OLED, and I just wanted to go and tell people what I discovered. It's like suddenly I found hope for the first time in my life, and I just wanted to tell everybody, man. So I started writing about that stuff, and it took a long time to come out of the homeless hostel, about 8 months. But I started going to church and made some friends. Eventually met a girl that I fell in love with, and we got married. And fast forward, we're like 2.3 kids, and it's I gained a son when I got married as well, and got a wee ministry going, and I get to invest it. I think the biggest thing that my walk with Jesus has taught me is how to see pain in others as well. So I didn't have any compassion before I became a Christian. I might say that I did, but it was always motivated and self-seeking. But now I just have a heart for others, and I want to see them have the same hope that I know is readily available for them.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I think I was reading a hymn, which was describing that feeling. I mean, I had a very similar moment, I think, when I was filled with the Holy Spirit, and I walked out of this church, and it was like everything was bright, and the sounds and everything was sort of more heightened, And I was reading in a hymn book the other day, and it talks about this, like color becoming more colorful. I can't remember the exact words. I'll have to look it up. But everything seemed more beautiful and alive, and that's an amazing thing. And just as far as like the compassion of Christ, like when you've received this, isn't it? If you've been forgiven a lot, you love a lot. He's been forgiven much, loves a lot, something like that. And I think that is an incredible, like that's something I've really seen a lot in people, who've really been to the depths. When they find salvation, they burn really bright, and they go full on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I was pretty tame compared to some of the guys I know. I mean, yeah, man. I'm surprised I never got locked up, but they were just on fire, and wonderful to see, hilarious as well. Just completely bonkers in terms of cultural norms, man. You know what I mean? But it was just wonderful.
Yeah, I love it. So you didn't sing until that point. You weren't a singer.
No, I didn't sing. I think I might have tried to when I was drunk, but I'd never given it any real attention. I was very insecure, man. Just riddled with emotional brokenness and stuff that was stemmed from trauma and all this kind of stuff. Some violent and sexual trauma when I was a teenager, and just so insecure and anxious all the time, and alcohol really helped me to not feel like that. You know what I mean? And alcohol works, man, because it's the greatest emotional painkiller on the planet. And if it didn't, there wouldn't be any addiction. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, when the alcohol stops working, you're drinking, and all the feelings come back, and they're just magnified. So you drink more, and then you just end up in oblivion, and it's just it's a horrible place. So I remember being at music college, a really prestigious music college for classical music, and just so nervous all the time, especially during my exams. And my tutor was like, "Why do you shake so hard when you need to do your exams?" I'm like, "I don't know, I just can't control it." And it was because I was just utterly terrified. And all you were doing was going out to play a bit of music and get an exam result in reality. But I was just terrified. And I think when I was in the homeless hostel as well, I just got past the point in caring. It couldn't get much lower, and I wasn't singing for anybody. I just still don't sing for anybody. I do it for me, and I do it for God. And a friend of mine, lovely guy called Robin, from my old church, said to me, like, "How can you do that? How can you get up there and sing in front of all those people?" And I'm like, "I just don't pay attention to that, man." I just there's worship leading and there's worshiping, and I think when you just kind of find you lead people, you can hear what's going on. It takes a bit of practice, but when you worship, it comes from my heart and it goes to God. I tend to work when I lead worship. I worship God with all that I've got, and people just tend to follow that, or they follow the people that are on stage, because I think that's a really natural thing. But I said to him, so imagine you're the worst singer in the world, right? Like, worst. I'm talking breaking glass, melting plastic bad, right? And I said, would you rather be that guy that loves singing, or the greatest singer that ever crossed the horizon of the world but never thought they were good enough? Right? I says, I would rather be the worst singer that ever was, but just love to sing. I would sing my heart out and not care. And trust me, I know a few people like that, and I think they're brilliant, And I says, just get up there, and you've got to give yourself permission to fail. You've got to give yourself permission to fail, because it's the greatest teacher, man. There's just gold in there. Next thing I know, he's joined the worship team, and he's up there, and he's giving it laldy, and I'm like, this is amazing. And then suddenly he's like he's helping out with the kids band, and he's being a mentor, and he's getting together and doing music with the people in the congregation from Africa. It was just tremendous, man. Right? And he's not a young chap. Well, he's not as young as me anyway, but and I was just like, this is amazing, because he lives with anxiety, and he's just managed to overcome that and thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give it all to God, and I'm going to step out and do it. And it's all right if I mess up, because I can learn from it. And I was just like, And it was nothing that I learned. This was all stuff that I learned from other people as well. So I'm just passing on the message, man. You know what I mean? So it was truly beautiful.
All that, what I was thinking about when I was just sort of an hour ago thinking about this, was how all that kind of stuff, the mental health stuff, the anxiety, or even just being overly anxious or overly self-conscious or whatever it is, it's like it really robs us. It's a real thief, to just us living that full life where we get to share just the gifts that we've been given, and I think especially with Christian music sometimes, or worship leading, or whatever it is, basically singing at the front of church, there's a sort of pressure maybe to not give your all, to not stand out, to not I guess it comes from that thing of don't take glory from God, there's a subtle thing, maybe more, I don't know if that's in the Scottish culture, but it's definitely I've seen it around the English one. I don't know, whatever. There's an interesting question from my mate Career just come up. which is, do you ever still find anxiety comes to attack you every now and again? And if you do, how do you deal with it? That's a good question.
Yeah, I get anxious all the time. But I get anxious when I lead worship. I still get anxious that I'm making it like you were just talking about, that I'm making it all about me, you know. And I think everything you were saying is bang on the money. But how do I deal with it? I think you've got to challenge the thinking. You've got to challenge it, because there's nothing wrong with fear. You know, fear is a natural emotion. It stops you getting hit by traffic. You know what I mean? It's basically your mind's way of saying something's going to happen. You need to get out of the way. You know what I mean? Anxiety, for me, tends to be completely illogical, because it's about stuff that hasn't actually happened, or it's. I tend to find I'm more anxious if I'm thinking about stuff in the future, and depressed if I'm still stuck with my head in the past. And I tend not to be very present at the time. So I've learned to become aware of that. So the first step is being aware. Okay, I'm anxious, because if you're not aware of it, you're just going to get driven by these emotions. The first time is just to become aware of that. The second thing to do is to challenge the thinking, and you can challenge the thinking not by lying to yourself and saying I'm not anxious when you are, because that's not very honest. Challenge the thinking and say, right, so what evidence is there to suggest that things are going to turn out like that, you know, next week or tomorrow? Well, it might, if I don't prepare, if I don't get in touch with somebody and say that I'm struggling. So communication is key. So taking action is massive. If the feelings in that are becoming overwhelming, there's some grounding techniques that I do. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which you can Google, is a grounding technique, which is great. My daughter uses that as well. And other things like contemplative prayer or meditation, which isn't exclusively Buddhist or anything. Meditation's been a part of the Christian faith for a very, very long time. Yeah. And stuff like that. Also having a bit of a routine and doing something that's self-soothing, that's not going to make things worse. So using Ben and Jerry's as therapists doesn't work, you know. They were my therapists for years, but doing something that's self-soothing, like having a bath or going for a walk, or I mean, I went for a run today and I felt amazing. It just wasn't a long one. I'm not that fit, but just to get about that. Yeah, just up the road. But but my wife came back. She's like, "God, you look really calm." I'm like, "I can't talk." But so yeah, so just finding practical solutions that would help you. They don't help everybody the same way, but find the ones that will work for you. Yeah. Get enough sleep, massive. Get enough sleep. Make sure you're hydrated. So
yeah, is that those simple practical things to take care of, aren't there?
Yeah.
Often musicians, artistic temperaments, we let all that stuff go quite easily. You know, I can, if I'm on a creative thing in the studio, I can stay up really, really late, you know, but then you've got to get up early with the kids. And then it's like, you do that over a sustained period with lots of pressure added in. You know, this weekend I found myself, I was like, I'm not all right. You know, speak to Veronica. I'm not really all right today. But I think I'm learning what to do now. So, like you say, bit of gardening for me, out in the garden, run, bit of Joe Wicks, whatever it is, hot bath, the simple stuff. You know, try and worship as well. Like, it's quite strange for me having worship leading as part of my job, because, you know, but just worship for, not for an audience, not for, you know, or just play guitar. Like, I had a wonderful time. Just went into Dadgad and put a capo on in an unusual place, and I was just in heaven yesterday. Just, it was so good for me, you know, just to play the guitar, you know, with no writing a song. I'm not. That's a good thing for me, you know. That's what it's for. So.
Yeah, man, that's a great practice to have. I didn't do that for a very, very long time, and I met a worship leader called Andrew Ehrenzeller. A lovely chap. And he basically said, when I wake up in the morning, I just sing for 30 minutes with my guitar.
Yeah.
It's like, I just do that. He says, it doesn't matter where I do it. He says, that's part of my routine. He says, it just sets me off for the rest of the day. It's almost like that's like his meditation, just to spend a bit of time with God, just sitting and singing worship songs, you know what I mean? And I was like, what a fantastic idea. You know, it's just brilliant. I mean, when something you love becomes your job, it's very difficult to see it as anything else other than that, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's just nice to sit and play a bit of music and try and hold back the editor side saying, oh, you could write a song with this, or you could do this and you could do that. And I'm just like, you want to just shut up now so I can just enjoy it. You know, it's like, I know it's just two chords, man, but sometimes I just like those triads. And you know what I mean? So I totally get you, man. I had a rough couple of days, and it was just like ruminating about the amount of work that's not getting done because everybody's in the house. It's a small house. Can't record, can't write because I've got to teach the kids. And I'm just, you know, but I'm doing it to myself. I'm doing it to myself, man, because it's about the narrative I tell myself, you know, like, and I didn't realize it until about 2 years ago that I have literally bullied myself for years without knowing it. So I would stand, I used to be a lot heavier, and I would stand in front of the mirror and say, you're nothing but a fat whatever, right? Nobody loves you. You'd be better off dead. Lots of stuff. And it's like, if I treated my wife like that, that's abuse. You know what I mean? If I treated somebody in the street like that, I could go to prison. And yet, still with work, I still speak to myself like a horrible boss. Like, you're not getting anything done. You're a failure. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't get creative. You know, it's this, you're making up excuses, all this kind of stuff. And I'm just putting myself down and down and down. And it's like, what's going on, man? You know what I mean? So it's just about changing the narrative and actually trying to speak to yourself with a bit of compassion. So, like, you know, you look like you lost a bit of weight, mate. On you go. Oh, you're beautiful, man. You know, so I sound really arrogant when I say stuff like that in the mirror, but I'm just trying to encourage myself because I don't believe it. You know,
You're a winner. You're a winner.
You're a winner. Chicken dinner. And then, you know, but my sponsor said to me, like, imagine you've got a twin who's in the same position as you, that you love dearly, and you're quite grounded, and you want to care for them, and your heart's breaking for them. What would you say to them, and what could you do for them to try and help them out of what they're going through? And he says, that's how you should be treating yourself when you're anxious or you're grieving or feeling any kind of emotional pain, because learning to develop a compassionate relationship towards your pain will help you develop a compassionate relationship towards yourself. And when you can feel a bit more grounded and loving towards yourself, for me, that opened up my relationship with Jesus in unbelievable ways, because I know God loves me, and I know he forgave me, and I know all this stuff that you hear on a weekly basis. But man, I just didn't feel that way about me, right? I hated me. So there was a contradiction there. So I needed to spend some time getting to know Steph Macleod so that I could actually come to Jesus and say, I get it. I get it. And thank you. Thank you for loving me when I couldn't love myself, man. You know? And that was just my journey.
Yeah. I love that bit in the Bible where it says, I think it's paraphrased in the Message or something, where it says, I want you to have it all, life, healed and whole. You know, like the idea of shalom, peace, like the rule of God going right the way through you, through your thoughts. And I've walked with God, you know, since I was 19 and 45. But I think I've got to know him a lot better recently, really. And a lot of that has come through, you know, getting some good counseling, like sort of hitting a wall a few years back, maybe 5 years ago now, or a bit longer, and having to address stuff, you know, having to sort of go, I'm not coping. All is not well.
Mm.
But amazing, like in a way, seeing God's mercy in those, and His faithfulness through it. That He really does. When you hit those walls, or when you hit those crazy times in life, He's still working in you. He's still working it out. Even when we screw it up and all that sort of stuff, He's not finished. And this idea of like God has a covenant with you. He's got a covenant with you. It's an unbreakable thing. And my mate Josh was praying, I think, on Sunday, and he was saying, even when we're faithless, He's still faithful, because that's who He is. And yeah, that's my experience, man. It's like been all over the place, been in the depths. I totally get that. And I thank God I'm not in that place of hating myself anymore. I can sit with me, and be all right. So that's good, man. And it's good to hear that. I think it's good for people to know that reality, because you can be an incredible artist like yourself, writing these amazing songs about God. If you listen to Steph's album, Kingdom Come. Can you shut the door, sweetie? Close the door. Thanks. If you listen to your album, Kingdom Come, that's an early album, isn't it? It's so powerful and deep and kind of very spiritual, I'd say. It's sort of very moving, orchestral, and all kinds of stuff going on there. And you can kind of listen to that, and you're listening to the gift and the story and the rawness, but there's still struggles in each of our lives, and sometimes people don't sort of put the two things together, that you can be completely broken still, but making amazing God-inspired music, but struggling with these normal things. Do you know what I mean?
I was not in a good place when I wrote and recorded that at all, man. Not in a good place at all. In fact, it was about a year before I got really sick, and then I had to take some time off for mental health reasons, but like yourself. And yeah, it was just chronic burnout and things that I hadn't opened up about from my past and all that kind of stuff. And it just, we're only as sick as our secrets, and
Wow.
it just absolutely corroded my core and my soul, man. You know what I mean? And never focused on everything was external or just focusing on the future. Everything was about tomorrow. There was nothing grounded in the day. No such thing as rest. Everything was a distraction. I don't even think I was self-aware for years. I mean, I've got memories of stuff that I was doing, but I just never checked in with myself once and said, how am I doing? How am I feeling? Should I speak to somebody? It was just all dishonesty. Oh, I'm fine. Yeah, totally. Things are great. I'm going to be doing this and I'm going to be doing that. And, but how are you doing right now? And it's like, it was just, I had a couple of close friends who were brave enough to say, you're under a lot of pressure and I'm really worried about you. And I'm like, I'll be fine. I really wasn't, man. And yeah, I'm so grateful for people that are brave enough to tell you that they love you, and tell you the stuff that you really need to hear. So it's I'm very, very grateful for the journey. Also very grateful for the circumstances that have happened. I mean, I wouldn't wish my journey on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But my daughter, because I spoke to my friend, my friend Mark, who's the closest thing I've got to a brother, a couple of months back, and I was just kind of unloading after I did 2 years of trauma counselling, and I had a pretty hard session, and my daughter heard me and she came in and she said, "Are you all right, Dad?" And I went, "Yeah." And I says, "Why?" She says, "Do you want a hug?" And I went, "Well, I'd love a hug." and she gave me one. And she's like, I thought you might need a hug, because I heard you talking to Mark and you seemed a bit sad. And I said that I had a session today with my therapist, darling, and it was tough. I'm just a bit emotional, you know. And she said, was it about when you were homeless and stuff? And I went, yeah. And she says, and I says, but you know what? I wouldn't change one part of it if it, you know, it meant that I couldn't be your dad, you know. And I would go through it all again just to be here and be with you and giving you a hug, man. Because I'm grateful for the suffering. Romans 5 talks about that, you know, and we rejoice in our sufferings. It's not to say that our sufferings are going to be easy at all, but they will always teach us something. There's no growth inside the comfort zone, as they say, and I would never wish pain on anybody, but it can be used. It can be used to grow, and it certainly, in my case, it's helped me to see compassion and struggles in others, and to help them help themselves as well. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah. I mean, we have. Oh, that's really beautiful, by the way. About your daughter. The whole thing of suffering is such a tough subject, but I think part of the redemption of suffering is in art, and it's one of the beautiful things that we can do, like with our pain. And speaking of kids, Lainey, who just came in there, she's always sung, and she's always sung her emotions. So since she was tiny, she spoke really, really young. We've got film of her speaking. She's about, I don't know, 10 months old or something, and she's got words. She's like talking. We're just like, that really happened. But yeah, we videos as well of her going, oh, I'm sad because I can't do this and I want to. And it's like a natural thing for her. She's a bit of an artist, a bit of a creative. But I think what's amazing is when you hear that. I mean, I hear a lot of pain coming out in your music, but that doesn't draw people into pain. It draws pain out of people, and it's like it's almost like we connect with it. It's the music therapy, isn't it? It's that your empathy. Oh, this guy understands me. This guy has been through something. He knows how I feel, and I've been thinking about this thing. If we want to be known, especially as performers, man, like I'm a proper performer. Do you know what I mean? Like I love it. I love being in front of people. I love the attention, and some people it terrifies them. For me, it's like I don't feel right unless it lifts me, you know?
Oh yeah.
It's part of how I'm made, but it's probably just like I'm a bit needy. So even like the other day, we were down, there's a little street party going on up here. People were social distancing, but kind of having a great time. And my friend Chris was out playing, and they were like, "Oh, you play, get Mark to play a couple of songs." And I played a couple of songs, and I was just like, I feel alive. I came home where I was like, "You look a bit better," you know. It's sad. It's a sad thing. It's like, but so part of me, really wants that approval and just to be known. It's like it's filling some kind of weird need. But I think similar to the addiction, it's never gonna. That's not gonna do it long term. And you see, I mean, the two things go hand in hand, don't they? When people's popularity starts to wane, then, and it's not enough, that's when often the substance abuses kick in and the whatever it is. So we're just complex creatures. because we're so sensitive, and we live in a world that doesn't wants what we have, but doesn't really appreciate the sensitivities, especially now, with the social media and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's mental. I mean, I think there's a desire in everybody for connection. You know what I mean? In some way, there's a desire for connection.
Yeah.
And every form of connection that I've encountered that's not centered in Christ is, fleet. It's like a breath in the wind, man. You know, I mean, it's
yeah.
These things can come and go. Sometimes it lasts a bit longer than others. But like, only the love of Christ is eternal in that respect. Yeah. It's a force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? It really is. And I want to teach my kids about that stuff. And
yeah,
it's an unbreakable bond, like you said. And there is this deep desire for connection, but it's also like in our culture, it's also taken to bits. So like, I mean, I wouldn't thank you for fame, I mean, infamy is bad enough, It's like, but it's I couldn't deal with that, It's like you just are who you are, and if you fit into our mold, we'll love you. But trends change. So does that mean you're going to fall out of grace unless you change with us and stuff like that? Mm-hmm. It's just, there's nothing authentic about it at all. That's why I love the Bible, and I love Jesus, and I love reading all of it, man, because it's, it is what it says it is.
Yeah.
And it is timeless, and it's this unbreakable bond. It's very, very clear, and there's no bones about it, and it's true. You know what I mean? So it's like, it has such a massive impact on people. When you start diluting it and rubbing it off against other things, that's when things get a bit rocky, but fundamentally the word of God and the love of Christ will always prevail. Doesn't matter what you throw at it, man. You know what I mean? It's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, man. Like, so what's your how do you read the Bible? Like, for other musicians and stuff watching, what's your kind of way? What's your daily walk?
I do different things, man. I do have a wee devotional. It's I had the book, but it's just, I'm so lazy. I've got it in an app now. You know what I mean? So I read my utmost for his highest, which is just brilliant. And I'm not a great reader either. I will say that, or I tell myself I'm not a great reader. I'm actually pretty good at it. I also like the Spurgeon morning and evening devotionals. They're enough, man, because they also give you food for thought as well. My wife and I are just in back.
Flowery writer, isn't he? He's quite. He's like.
He sounds mental.
Yeah.
I love him. He sounds like my cup of tea, man. Sits in the pub and smokes a pipe and writes about Jesus, man. I wish I'd met him years ago,
Yeah.
But my wife and I have got this wee 3-year Bible study. It's quite an old book that I got off Amazon. Roger Carswell recommended it, and so we're going to sit and do that. But I do that. One thing that I have done is I've started highlighting stuff in the passages that I do, because it just makes me. I used to see other people doing that and thinking, what they're doing that for? But I'm doing that, and it's actually sitting in, and it's giving me time to reflect on what I've just read, and then I'll just walk around, and it tends to pop up every day, and it takes less than 5 minutes to read that every day. I do pray every morning, not very long, but I just give the day to God. It's part of my 12-step program. I take prayer for granted for years. I'm a Christian, so I don't need to pray. And then so I'll get on my knees beside the bed and just give the day to God. Sometimes it's just a serenity prayer, but I try and make that a habit every day, because at least then I've committed it to God.
Yeah.
And then I will review the day at the end of the day as well, and just see where I had I did good things, where I didn't do so good. If I had any emotions that I should maybe address and go and speak to somebody, and then I will finish with a little prayer. Very often I pray with my wife for other people, and that's my. I like to watch Calvary Chapel sermons on YouTube from time to time. I also like reading Wikipedia about these old hymn writers. Fascinating guys, fascinating cats. I mean, it's Wikipedia, so it might all be nonsense, but they sound like rock stars to me, man. You know what I mean? So, but these guys are phenomenal. Just really, really interesting. I also like to read hymns, and sometimes I'll just sit down and open the Psalms and just sing them with my guitar. And I think that really helps me to engage emotionally, because I struggle with that sometimes. But again, music really helps with that. So that's, don't get me wrong, I've not got my head in a book 24 hours a day. It's just little bits and bobs here and there. I think writing songs as well is very edifying spiritually, you know what I mean? Especially when you're looking at Bible verses and way to so picking a theme and then searching it and finding out what other verses are. I think it's all just gold dust, man, and it's really, really, really inspiring. But you know, you're also in the face of Netflix and PlayStation and kids and beach walks, and I mean, I baked bread today, which is delicious, so I just so you're up against it, but be kind to yourself, and just, if you start the day with like 5 minutes of scripture and put it beside your bed, so it's the first thing that you see. You know, if you're going to pick up your phone, put the app on the first thing that you'll see, and then just click it. And instead of wasting half an hour on Instagram, you know, you've spent 30 minutes engaging in the scriptures, and you will feel great, because that's a victory. You'll actually wake up and going, I'm a winner today. I've done something that I'm really going to benefit from. And then go and have your coffee. And if you want to go on Instagram, do it after you've done something. You know, nothing wrong with it, really. Just that's what I do. So I don't know if it's right. I don't know if it's right either.
Well, I think we find what works.
Yeah.
But the main thing is just, it's similar to the mental health stuff we're talking about, isn't it? You know, you've got to learn how you're going to do this thing, how you're going to eat well, you know, like spiritually eat well, not just fast food, you know, but like how you're going to exercise, what's going to stretch you, what's going to push you, what's going to challenge you. I think like that idea of connection, you know, the true connection. It's like, yeah, we're Christians, blah, 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 we believe this, but there's got to be those moments where your heart is soft towards the Holy Spirit. And it's very easy to, for me, I find it, you know, very easy to sort of stray from that. And then there's those moments when you come back almost. But I think it's like any relationship, isn't it? You can be in the house with your family. Like, I don't really feel like I've connected with my family properly today yet. We've been doing this, doing that. You know, now I'm doing this. And it's a good reminder that I'm going to need to go and make sure we connect. Do you know what I mean? Like, not just in the same place, because God's always around. But yeah, I mean, great advice as far as just getting on your knees. I think that's so powerful. And I know, like, times in my life when I've been probably in a bit of a mess as a Christian, I've still been able to do that, you know, at the end of the day, and just I'm on my knees, Lord. And I love, you know, if anybody sort of watching or listening who's in that place, you don't, I think the wonderful thing is, that's coming across to me, is that we don't have to get ourselves together to come to Jesus, you know, we really don't. And there's never a point when you need to reach a certain standard. It's just, you can always come. And I love that parable of the publican, where he compares the Pharisee and the publican. And he says, well, you come in and you say, thank you, God, I'm not a Gentile. Thank you, I'm not a woman. Thank you, I'm not this. Thank you, I'm not that. This guy comes in and he says, God, I'm a sinner, have mercy on me. And then he goes back to pulling pints or whatever he's doing. His life didn't change at all. He just kind of, and he said one of them went away justified. And it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing, but I love it. It's very offensive to the religious sort of mindset.
The thing about like praying on your knees, man, like, the thought of doing that, would have horrified me, not so long ago. But it was actually it's actually encouraged in recovery circles, because there's such a lack of humility within addiction. There's a lot of humiliation, but there's a real lack of humility. And it was actually when I was going through my struggles about 5 years ago, it was a guy who's an atheist that got me praying again, because I hadn't spent any time with God at all. And when I first met him, he was reading like the basic text for Alcoholics Anonymous, and he was like, this is indoctrination, because like the word God's in 7 of the steps, and it's just throughout the whole book. And there's a really cool YouTube video or a meme. If you take all the pages out that have the word God in it, like you've got like a couple of sheets of paper. The book's that thick. And one day, about 6 months later, we were walking in Edinburgh, and he went, oh man, I forgot to pray this morning. And I looked at him and I went, you pray? And he went, yeah, man. Oh yeah. I was like, what? And he just went, my sponsor told me I needed to pray. And he said, I'd have drank out a toilet if it had kept me sober when I walked in the door. And he says, but my sponsor just says, get on your knees and pray. He says, I don't know what I'm praying to. I don't believe in it, but I'm just doing what I'm supposed to. I says, I'm just, because I want to be sober. So I've got faith that if I pray, I'll stay sober. And I went, that's humility right there for you. So I just slip onto my knees as I'm just about to stand up. I'll just roll over and get on my knees, spend a couple of minutes, because I usually my first thought was, you look like an idiot, right? There's the wee voice in the head going, you look like an idiot, son, right? And I'm like, I don't care. And then I'll just start praying to God, and see, after the first couple of words that come out, I'm actually like, I'm quite comfortable doing this. And then it'll actually go on for a bit longer than I realised. And that's a wee victory. That's a wee victory that I've got there. So then I'll go and get my coffee, and I will automatically feel better. You know what I mean? So I don't think that I would never profess to being humble or anything like that. But I mean, I've been taught more about humility from my friends who've been through so much humiliation than I could ever have imagined learning by myself, man. So they inspired me to get humble and just to get right with God, man. You know what I mean? It's a beautiful thing. But it's that's I just thought I'd clarify that, because I'm not some kind of saintly morning guy. You know what I mean?
Camel knee. That's what they call James, apparently, because he spent so much time on his knees. Yeah, humble yourself before God, right? Under control, and He'll lift you up in due season. And what does God require? Just do right. Act justly, walk humbly with your God. It's not difficult. It's not complex. He's not asking a lot from us. Don't be arrogant. Don't, do you know what I mean? Just simple stuff. Yeah. Hey, we're over our hour by 10 minutes.
I could talk to you for years, man.
Yeah. Well, we stay in touch anyway, right?
Yeah.
And I just, keep doing, man. Keep doing all you're doing, and you don't know the effect. You won't see the effect necessarily you're having on people, but you're a blessing, and you have been given some amazing gifts. So keep keep sharing them. You know, keep putting it out there. It's important. It is important.
Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Thanks for having me. It's been great to hang out.
Yeah, it's been good, isn't it? You're all right.
Well, it's debatable.
We're going to do some gigs, don't we? We've been talking about doing some gigs.
Aye, man. I think so I'm putting together a wee project now. We've been talking about doing some kind of, I'd really love to do like a blues album, but with like a spiritual album for people that don't go to church, you know, and just smash it, whatever. And I think that would be kind of cool. I've got some stuff on the go there now that would love to get you on to play a bit of slide or whatever and sing a tune.
Yeah.
It's just circumstances. Because I know we message and they keep saying, let's do this, let's do that. And I'm like, I really want to. But then it's like, Dad. And I'm like, right. And then 50 folk. But we will get there, man. We will get there. I'll come down and I'll bring my family and hi. We'll do that. So yeah, let's just get on with it when the world opens.
When the world opens up again. All right, bro. I'm going to stop this and then we can. Oh, still going. Oh, come on. End the broadcast. There we go.
Dun, 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 dun.